this tutorial, we're going to show you how to input some information into your model in the form of room tags so that you can edit the occupant loads and then run some calculations using IES plugin to give you your sensible and latent heating and cooling loads so that you can size your system later on. So to begin with, we're going to create a tag for each room by selecting room under the basics tab, pulling to the center of the room and clicking for each of the spaces that we wish to define. When you're finished, you can hit escape twice to get out of the command. And then we're going to select the room by having the X appear, right clicking and choosing element properties. You can see in this dialog box there's many things that you can edit, including the electrical lighting, electrical loads, mechanical airflow, and identity data for you to identify the different parameters of the room. What we're interested in is the last option, the energy analysis. And here you can see that you can change the condition type from default to any of these further options, as well as change the room type, room service, and the room construction. The room construction is beneficial when you decide to have more than one type of construction for the room. You can preset as many as you'd like by changing exterior walls, interior walls, the slabs, roofs, floors, doors, exterior windows, interior windows, and skylights. We're going to cancel out of there and click back here on the people under edit, as we want to change the occupancy load for the room. So we're going to click on the specify values, and for this office we're going to change it to 3 people, and the sensible heat gain is 238 BTUs per hour and latent heat gain of 103. These are the values that we have found to be pretty standard. Click OK, and it's set for that room. Now we're going to continue that for the rest of these rooms by simply clicking on the specify values, changing the number of people, again using that same 238 and 103. In this office we're going to use 5 people just to show the difference in the flow that is required once we run our calculations. We're going to skip over the hallway area and come over here to this room number 10, which we'll later rename as a classroom. We're going to put 25 people into the classroom. And once that's complete, we're going to come back, and since we didn't do it before, we're going to change the name of each of these rooms to help just later on with the load report so we know which room we're talking about. So we're going to name these 3 rooms as offices, room number 9 as a hallway, and room 10 as a classroom. Once we've completed that, and we've edited our occupant loads, we're going to go down here and click on the mechanical tab. Now we're going to run some heating and cooling calculations. So there's a plugin installed in Revit MEP where you can click on heating and cooling, and it brings up the IES virtual environment dialog box. Now what's nice about this is you can change the building type, and we're going to change it to a school or university as we're constructing a classroom with some offices. You can change the building construction, which again takes you into the defaults, which we want to leave alone, and click OK, as all this information should have been transferred over during your import from Revit Architecture. You can also change the building service type. We're going to leave it as a VAV single duct, and our place and location. You can see here you can choose from locations around the world. The closest to us right now is Altoona, Pennsylvania. You can click OK. Now what's really nice is you can click on this room tab and see each of the rooms listed. If you would click on the highlight button, it shows you which room you're talking about, which could be extremely beneficial in a more complex model where you're trying to find the space you're talking about. And what else is nice is you can change that individual room type, as well as that individual room construction, as we had talked about before. So now instead of creating multiple construction types for the entire building, you can do it for just a single floor. We're going to leave that on the default. You can also override the room service. So if it was not a VAV single duct and maybe it was a central heating hot air, you could change it to that. We're going to leave it as its default. Next thing that we're going to do is calculate the heating and cooling loads for these spaces given the inputs that we gave it with the occupants. So we're going to go ahead and click calculate, and it's going to sit here and run the numbers using ASHRAE standards for the entire year. Once that's completed, it gives you this nice load report summary. It tells you what the project is, what time you ran that project, its location, and some analytical data about the building. Under the room summary, you see the area of the room, its airflow, cooling load total, and heating load total. Now, say we want to see the classroom specifically, so we're going to click on classroom, and it will take us to the report for that room. And again, you see the room data and floor area, analytical roof area, and then the total volume. Now you'll notice over here that we have some electrical data that we could use. Now that was something that we could have input earlier, but we were not concerned with that as we were just trying to find the HVAC loads. You see underneath that the people loads. Again, here's our 25 people that we put in, the area per person, the sensible and latent heat gain per person. Now what we ran these calculations for is to get this information under load data. You can see here the cooling loads listed under the sensible cooling loads, the latent cooling loads, and the total cooling loads. Now what that gives us is information that we can use later on when we size our system to get the correct system for the building. Under airflows, you can see what the required airflow is, flow density, and the suggested number of air changes. Under heating loads, we get the same thing, sensible heating load, a latent heating load, and a total heating load. Now, we can go back to our first floor plan under Mechanical 1 and try to figure out how you get to these reports. Well, under the Reports tab, if yours isn't expanded, you can click the plus. You can come down and you can see your load reports. And in this simulation, it's load reports too. You just double click and it brings back up that load report for you to use later when you decide to change your system for the building.